Hello and welcome to the Next in Line podcast, where we are helping to prepare you for whatever is next in line. As always, I'm your host, Chance Pitts, and would like to thank you for tuning into this episode. Guys and gals, welcome back to the podcast. If you've been watching for a little while and keeping up on YouTube, you're going to notice there's some visual changes to the show. So we've been messing around with the cameras, we've been messing around with the audio a little bit, trying to get this a little bit more clean and presentable, if you will. It's something that I've been striving to do, and there's just some changes that I would like to see to the podcast. There's some changes to the way we've been doing some stuff, and I'd love to put our best foot forward as we really strive to go towards this new year and reach some new heights. And with that being said, that's really going to be our theme for today as we dive into this podcast. But before we get too far into that, guys, I want to take care of some of the announcements. And those announcements are in the form of upcoming events that we have. So, we were supposed to go out and run with Michael Ruiz the Brazos Bend 100 on December 2nd and 3rd. However, that race has been moved out to January 6th and 7th due to weather issues. So we'll be out there supporting Michael as he strives for his first 100-mile ultramarathon completion. He's done an amazing job with his training schedule, with some previous races, and really becoming a strong runner over this past couple of years, and very, very proud of what he's been able to accomplish in such a short period of time. So we'll be out there with a group of pacers, a whole bunch of crew members, a full setup, supporting him as he gets ready to knock out that race. Kendall Diven will actually be out there as well, knocking out a half marathon. She was able to knock out the Rock and Roll half marathon in San Antonio on the 2nd and 3rd of December. Very, very excited for her. Congratulations, Kendall. And as she's out there as well, we'll be crewing her and supporting her as she knocks this thing out. And with that being said, if you're out there at that race as well and you need a little bit of support in the way of crew or pacers or anything like that, don't hesitate to reach out, guys, at Next in Line Development on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. That's the best way to reach us through the DMs. Or if you're on YouTube, throw us a comment under this video as well. Now, besides that race on January 6th and 7th, we've got a race the weekend after that over here in Bandera we're looking at. That's the Bandera 100K on January 13th and 14th. Now, there's a few different distances and there's a few different options, and we're really evaluating what is still available to race and kind of where we're at with our training schedule. After the last man standing race, we took a little bit of time off, and I want to make sure we don't rush back into anything too quick as far as our own personal races, but it looks like as of right now we'll likely be in Bandera on that weekend and looking for a race to run. So if you're going to be out there as well, please let us know. We'd be loving to see some awesome people out there. After that, guys, we'll likely be heading to Georgia on February 10th for the 3 of 7 Project Trail Run. Now, that race is one that's set up in a furthest runner gets the victory kind of thing. It's timed races, 8, 6, and 4 hours, and you run a loop over and over and see how far you can get. The runner who reaches the furthest distance is the one that wins. Now, it's going to be a challenging course with some elevation and some technicality to it, but it ought to be a really, really good time. We've actually got a decent little group of guys willing to go out there and run this thing, and it's really exciting to see because that group of individuals out there with 3 of 7 is just jam up good. They truly care about everyone who listens to their podcast, participates in their events and their trainings out there. They really care about helping them reach their full potential and their next level, and really striving to be the best version of them, right? And that's focused in a very heavily spiritual realm as well. So 3 of 7's an awesome group. Ran the original race, the 50K that they put on a couple years ago whenever I first got into ultra marathons. It was actually my first race, and it was really cool. It was a great event, great community, and loved it. So that's why we'll be going out to Georgia for that one. Then next on the schedule for this year is the main race that I have on my books. That is the Cocodona 250. That's going to be out in Arizona on May 6th through 11th. It's going to be a 250-mile ultra marathon that runs from Black Canyon City up to Flagstaff, Arizona. It is a insane race. It's been one that I've been absolutely infatuated with since before I started running. And they do a great job of organizing it. They do an awesome live stream and tracking for that race. So be sure to keep up with that whenever the time comes, guys. But if you're interested in pacing, crewing, or just being involved in that in any kind of way, feel free to reach out. Let us know what you're thinking. We'd love to hear from you on that. But super excited about that race and what May is going to look like for us there. That's about it for the races and events and announcements that I got for you today, guys. So with all that being said, I want to jump into the podcast. I want to preface it, though, by saying, please try to remember that anything I say in this podcast is coming from a place of potential. It's coming from a place of positivity through direct honesty and unbiased reflection, if you will. I don't want this to be seen as something that's self-deprecating or something that is a really negative or depressing kind of thing. So you'll understand why I say that here in just a minute, but just bear with me as we dive into this. So first and foremost, what I would like to say is that the Next in Line movement and the podcast have been a super positive thing. They've had an awesome impact on some people. It's given me the opportunity to connect with some amazing people, to go out and run in races and help people finish races and help people get information and make decisions on little goals that they start off with that end up being amazing things that change their lives and push them in a direction that they never would have gone otherwise. And it's been cool to host some events and some workouts and to build these connections and these avenues for information for people. It's been awesome to have conversations with individuals here and there who have gone through challenging things or who have achieved great things, huge goals, and sought more out of life and been able to achieve that. And overall, this thing's been really, really awesome to be a part of. But with that being said, I think I'm being very dishonest with myself if I say this podcast is right where it needs to be. And what I mean by that is that, especially here lately, there's been efforts on my end and efforts kind of across the board in my life, not just on the podcast, but especially here with Next in Line, where I've taken the easy road out. I've stopped trying to set up interviews and pencil that into my schedule, and I've stopped pushing out this podcast on social media and editing clips for YouTube Shorts and Facebook and Instagram Reels and all those things that help grow this movement. And you might notice that I didn't ask you to share the show here at the beginning of the podcast, because I'll be very honest, if I'm asking y'all to do that and I'm not doing any favors for this podcast myself, it's kind of hypocritical. And the purpose of this conversation is to be very honest here, right? Again, I don't want y'all to think that I'm depressed or down or writing this thing off as in no way successful. Guys, we're 2 years in. We're 132 episodes as of this episode deep. And things are not where they should be. The systems I'm putting in, hell, I just got to editing the camera to where it should have been a long, long time ago. Have we made improvements? Have we done some cool things? Yes, 100%. But the laziness has set in, and the lack of effort has set in. And I hate to say laziness, because the truth of the matter is it stems from something different. And this is really where I want to take this podcast today and where I want to take this episode. So listen in. I have always been very, very achievement oriented. In fact, I took a strengths assessment for work, and one of my top things was being an achiever. I like to check the boxes. I like to accomplish big things. Hell, I signed up for a 250-mile race whenever I've only been ultra running for 2.5 years. I've absolutely strived to be the top end candidate for every single job I've ever went after and every promotion thereafter for everything I've ever done. I'm ultra competitive, whether we're grinding it out to achieve that promotion or to be that one guy that gets the recognition, or whether it's just playing cards. I always want to achieve more. I always want to win. I always want to be the best. But the problem here lately is that sense of achieving, the chasing the goals, the having the buckles and medals. I don't know if you can see them in this new camera angle, but I've got all my ultra running buckles and medals behind me, and all of those things just, they aren't cutting it anymore. They aren't scratching the itch. They aren't checking the box. It used to be with this podcast that just getting this thing up and going and putting it out and growing it and trying to reach as many people as possible, that was something I went after for that same sense of achievement. And that's been a big reason why the effort hasn't been there for me. Why I haven't brought on guests here lately. Why I have been kind of almost putting together these podcasts, not really almost, just directly. I've been putting these podcasts together last minute with bubblegum and duct tape. And it's been just this culture within myself of the podcast, the things I love doing, they aren't giving me that satisfaction that achieving has always done. And I think a lot of that stems directly from my areas in my life where I am weaker. The holes and the things that I know I should be working on. And when we really evaluate it, I think there's a lot of deep internal work that needs to be done. And that's something I'm going to try to really focus on going forward. And from that, there's a quote that's really stuck with me here lately. The magic you're looking for is in the work you're afraid to do. And I had an awesome conversation with a great friend the other day, and it brought a lot of this to light. And it was the first time I was really open and honest about a lot of the things going on with this lack of achievement and things not getting me fired up and not getting me motivated, not getting me moving like it did before. And what I've come to realize is that lack of work, the lack of engaging in those things that I've been afraid to engage in, is a little bit unusual for me. Because being an achiever, being somebody that strives for those goals and does all these crazy things and puts himself out there, I'm not afraid of the work. I'm not afraid of relying on myself, being the guy that everyone counts on, being the one that's always willing to do more and to push themselves further. I'm not afraid of that. It's actually my strong spot. Physically, if we're in a battle and it's who's going to give up first, I believe in myself. I believe I'll take that. I'll win that fight because I've hardened myself and I've pushed myself to a point that not many others are willing to go. But because of that, tying those strengths, the physical side and even the mental side, where I've made myself mentally tough by doing all these extremely challenging things here lately, that's what fed that achieving side. It fed that self-reliance of, if I'm able to put my head down and just work through it and push through, I can fix all of the things. But now, for the first time in my life, this question has kind of punched me right in the face of, what do you do when the one thing that was keeping you motivated, keeping you going, keeping you grinding things out and weathering the storm and dealing with all this shit that life throws at you? What do you do when that doesn't feed you anymore? When that doesn't check the box, when that doesn't make the difference, when that doesn't get you out of bed, what do you do? And it's taken a lot of time. It's taken a lot of honest reflection, like what I'm doing here. It's taken a lot of realizing that it's not just the go, grind that's going to get me through this. It's the understanding that, like I said, there's deep internal work that needs to be done. There's reasons why I'm striving and trying to achieve the things I'm trying to achieve and acting the way that I've been acting for so long. There's something missing. There's an aspect that hasn't been worked on. There's work that I've been afraid to do. You know, for a long time, all of this really bothered me, and putting it in a tangible thing is recognizing a few of the books that I've read and what I've really connected with for a long time versus what has been kind of put off in my mind. You see, I've always been super stoked about the books and podcasts from Andy Frisella, David Goggins, Tim Grover, and even Jocko. All guys that have that grind and just tough it out and go one more and really push yourself mentality. The, if I grind and work and don't let myself give up, eventually it'll all work itself out if I'm hard enough. And because of that, I've been, in some ways, less attracted to guys like Ed Milet, who thinks about things a little bit more and talks about the emotional side. Nick Bare, who's way more logical with his approaches, and even Matthew McConaughey's book, Green Lights, where he talks about just the positivity and the optimism and being pulled towards certain things and understanding that balance and the energies. I haven't been as engaged in those. And the self-education and the working on myself internally. And I think that's a good example of where this hole has been and where this gap is and what needs to be filled in. You see, we talked about three aspects from the very beginning, and it's on the wall behind us there. It's spiritual, it's mental, and it's physical. Physically and mentally, these past couple of years have been an absolute change for me. I am mentally stronger and more resilient and healthy in the way that I think about things. So much more than I was in the past before I decided to make these changes, before I decided to come on this journey. And physically, I'm 100 times better than where I was, whether it's evaluating my diet, my drinking habits, or my actual physical workouts versus being so sedentary like I was. But the big hole, and the one that needs to be filled, and the spot that I've been afraid to do the work in, and where I can almost guarantee you where the magic in fixing this lack of motivation, lack of discipline, lack of ability to follow through, and what'll truly take the place of and flourish more than achievement has in my life is that spiritual realm. A relationship with God, a understanding of something that's been so uncomfortable for so long. And I think it's time that I truly spent time there and explored it. And I'm incredibly thankful for there's an individual who really helped me reach this spot and uncover some things and expose some things and really just come to me from a point of being super relatable and sharing some of his own issues that he has and has painted a great picture and exposed these things for me and given me insights that I never would have gotten before and helped me understand that this is something that needs to happen. And because of that, that's where I'm going to be spending my time. That's my main focus of 2024. That's where I'm going to put in the most work and strive to fix it. You see, though this episode's been all over the map and I've talked about it a lot and I hope this is tied together in a way like I feel like it has in my head. But with all of the craziness and all of the things that I've been able to accomplish and all of the cool things that I've been a part of, still leaving myself feeling empty, feeling incomplete, dissatisfied. I truly think that going forward, this is going to be the game changer. And I don't want y'all to worry. I don't want y'all to think that I'm going off some kind of deep end or diving into something that's totally in a whole different realm. But we're going to spend some time exploring that first point, the spiritual side, going forward. We're going to spend a lot of time working on ourselves. There's going to be a lot more honest reflection. There's going to be a lot more open conversations. And from that, I plan to right the ship. I plan to put in the time, the effort, the energy, and the resources to make this podcast and this movement and my efforts towards helping people what they should have been very long ago. I know this has kind of been a somber or depressing episode, and if you've made it to the end of it with me here, I thank you for sticking around and hearing me out and listening to some of these kind of crazy thoughts that have bounced in and out of my head and hit paper. But guys, just know that everything I do and everything I strive to be and everything I try to share with y'all and put in front of every individual that gives us a podcast an opportunity comes from a very, very true and very positive, as far as intentions go, place. And I want that to be the same going forward. And I want to root this in a place that's not of achievement, that's not of personal success, that's not of checking a box or climbing to a new height, but to truly root it in a place that serves a purpose and helps folks like you and me complete ourselves from what is missing. Guys, that's all I got for you today. Thank y'all for listening. Thank y'all for continuing to help grow this movement, to strive to be the best versions of yourselves, to help keep inspiring me to do this thing. As we get towards the holidays, be safe, be smart, get your Christmas shopping done early. And don't forget to be thankful. Reflect on the things you need to work on. Figure out who you are. Figure out what you're missing and what it is that might be keeping you feeling that same emptiness that I'm reflecting on right now. But guys, till we talk again, work on yourselves. Do challenging things. Reach out if I can help you with anything at all. And always be prepared for whatever is next in line.